People often ask me when my life truly began. Some believe it was the day I graduated. Others think it was the day I became a nurse. But they're all wrong. My life began the day one stranger kept a promise. I was 8 years old that winter. The city had beautiful buildings, tall ones with carved balconies and dark green roofs. The river ran through the middle of it, carrying broken pieces of ice beneath the bridges. In the evenings, the windows shone gold. From far away, it looked like a city that had made room for everyone. Up close, it had corners. There was the covered market near the station. There was a laundromat with a broken blue sign. There was a public library where the radiators worked well. There were benches under the arcade and a bakery that opened before sunrise. I knew these places by their warmth. I also knew which doors stayed locked. My parents had been gone for 3 months. I understood the word gone before I understood the other words people used around it. Complicated, temporary, under review, no available family. People said these things kindly. That did not make them less frightening. For a while, I slept in different places. A storage room behind a closed cafe, the stairwell of an apartment building, once beneath a table in the train station with my backpack against my chest. I carried 3 things everywhere: a photograph of my parents folded inside a schoolbook, a stuffed rabbit with one loose ear, and a small blue notebook in which I wrote down the names of streets where I had not been asked to leave. I made rules for myself. Never sleep in the same place twice in a row. Never tell anyone where I would be the next morning. Never accept a ride. Never let a stranger hold my backpack. And, whenever possible, be useful. Usefulness made people look at you without suspicion. It gave a conversation somewhere to stand. At the market, I carried empty crates for the flower seller. In return, she let me sit near the heater for 10 minutes. At the station, I showed tourists which platform led to the river tram. I could read the signs better than some grown-ups. They gave me coins, but I usually refused them. Keep them, I would say. The coins were not the important part. The important part was that someone had asked me for help. One morning, an old man dropped his ticket in the snow. I picked it up, brushed it clean, and held it out to him. He studied me for a moment. "Are you lost?" "No," I said. It was not exactly true, but it was the answer I needed. He took the ticket and touched 2 fingers to the brim of his hat. Then he walked away. That was the whole exchange. I remembered it for years. Kindness does not always arrive with a speech. Sometimes it is only a small thing returned to the right hands. The flower seller's name was Mrs. Petrescu. She had a red scarf, strong hands, and very little patience for foolishness. She knew I was sleeping outside. I knew she knew. Neither of us said it. At closing time, she gave me bread that had not sold. "Eat it before you give it away," she told me. I promised. Then, one evening, I found the gray cat behind the market. It had a torn ear and a terrible cough. It stood beside a stack of crates, too proud to come closer and too hungry to leave. I broke the bread in half. Mrs. Petrescu saw me from her stall. "You promised to eat it." "I am eating it." "You are feeding the cat." "I am doing both." She sighed. The next morning, she brought a saucer of milk. The cat never became tame. It came and went as it pleased. I called it Sunday because that was the day I first saw it. I did not own Sunday. I only noticed when it was cold. That was how I thought of most things then. The city was full of people who were not mine to keep. You could still care for them. You could still place something warm within reach. Alexander Laurent first saw me from the cafe across the square. He was 48 years old, though people often guessed younger. His hair was short and salt and pepper. He wore a charcoal suit, a white shirt, and a black tie even on days when no one expected him at the office. He had been a widower for 6 years. His wife's name was Marianne. There was a photograph of her on the mantel in the house where he lived. He had not moved it since the funeral. Alexander came to the cafe every morning at 7. He sat at the same table. He read the same newspaper. He drank coffee that grew cold beside his hand. The first day, he noticed me because I was carrying a crate almost as large as my chest. The second day, he saw me return a purse that had fallen from a woman's bag. The third day, he saw me divide my bread with sundae. He did not come outside. That mattered. There were adults who saw a child alone and rushed toward the story they wanted. They imagined themselves brave. They imagined the child grateful. Alexander did something slower. He kept watching. Not in secret, not from a dark car. He watched from places where other people could see him too. By the end of the week, he knew my coat, my scarf, my backpack, and the careful distance I kept from every open hand. He did not yet know my name. He understood that he had no right to ask for it. And the 8th morning, Alexander spoke to Mrs. Petrescu. He did not begin with me. He asked about the market, about the bread, about the cat. Then he asked whether the little girl in the blue coat had a family nearby. Alexander went to the city welfare office that afternoon. He gave his full name. He gave his address. He explained where he had seen me and for how long. The woman at the desk asked him why he was involved. He left his contact information. He did not ask for private records. He did not ask to be told where I slept. The office assigned a caseworker named Ms. Varga. Ms. Varga spoke with Mrs. Petrescu, the librarian, the station attendant, and the woman who owned the laundromat. She learned that I had been seen in the neighborhood for weeks. She learned that no relative had come forward. She also learned that I went to the library every morning to wash my hands. This was not a fact I had told anyone. Ms. Varga found me in the library. She did not sit too close. She placed her folder on the table and kept both hands where I could see them. I liked her because she did not pretend. She asked if I knew my birthday. I told her. She asked if I remembered my parents' names. I told her those too. She asked whether someone was hurting me. That answer was true, but it did not mean I was safe. Ms. Varga understood that. She did not press me for a better answer. The room did not become less frightening because she said this, but it became possible to imagine one night followed by another. I closed my notebook. This was the first time I heard Alexander's name. I thought it sounded like a name that belonged in a book. The children's residence was clean, plain, and full of doors. Some had pictures taped to them. Some had names. Some had nothing at all. I was given a narrow bed, a towel, and a drawer that closed properly. A woman named Marta showed me where the bathrooms were. She told me breakfast began at 7. She told me I could leave my shoes beneath the bed or beside it. I chose beneath. That first night, I slept with the rabbit tucked inside my coat. In the morning, a girl named Inez asked whether I had always worn the same boots. She nodded, satisfied. Children rarely need more explanation than that. Alexander did not visit. He came to the residence 2 days later, but he met with Ms. Varga in an office. He brought documents about himself, his work, and his home. He agreed to a background check, a home inspection, and a series of interviews. He was told that nothing would happen quickly. He said he understood. He was told that I would not be asked to trust him because he was wealthy or kind. He said he understood that, too. One afternoon, Ms. Varga asked if I wanted to meet him in a supervised room. I considered this. It was important to me that he know I could refuse. Alexander arrived without a gift. That was the first thing I noticed. He sat in the chair across from me. Ms. Varga sat near the door. The table held colored pencils and a sheet of paper with a house printed on it. Alexander looked at the paper. I chose a blue pencil. He did not ask me to call him anything. He did not tell me he had a large house. He did not say he could give me a better life. Instead, he asked whether I liked the library. He nodded as though this were a serious answer. It was. We sat in silence for a while. I drew a door. Then I drew another door behind it. Alexander watched the paper, not my face. That was not the answer I expected. Ms. Varga ended the meeting after 20 minutes. Alexander stood. I had not told him my name. I put the blue pencil down. He left without trying to touch my shoulder. For the first time, I wondered what he would do if I never saw him again. The weeks that followed were made of paperwork. Paperwork is not a beautiful thing. It does not glow. It does not know when someone is frightened. But it can protect a child when adults are careful with it. Alexander completed every form. He brought tax records and medical records. He gave permission for interviews with his colleagues. He listed Eleanor and Thomas as members of his household. He agreed that both would be screened and interviewed. He did not call a judge. He did not call a friend who knew a judge. He did not ask anyone to move my case ahead of another child's. He waited in the same rooms as everyone else. Eleanor had worked in his house for 16 years. She was broad-shouldered, practical, and exact about the difference between clean and tidy. Thomas cared for the grounds and repaired whatever winter damaged. He had a patient voice and a habit of keeping useful pieces of wood. Ms. Varga inspected the estate. She examined the locks, the stairs, the heating system, the kitchen, and the room Alexander had suggested for me. She asked where I would go if I became angry. Alexander answered, "Wherever she chooses, as long as she is safe." Ms. Varga wrote this down. I visited the estate on a gray afternoon. It stood at the edge of the city, behind an iron fence and a row of bare trees. The house was large enough to make footsteps feel unimportant. Eleanor met me at the door. She did not bend down and speak in a sweet voice. She looked at my boots. "Do they pinch?" "No." "Good. There are dry socks in the basket by the kitchen. You may take them whenever you need them." Then she went back to chopping carrots. Thomas showed me the workshop. He did not show me the bedrooms. He showed me a broken wooden birdhouse and asked whether I knew how to hold a screwdriver. "A little." He handed me one. Rufus was an old brown dog with white around his muzzle. He lay on a rug near the fire. He opened one eye when I entered, then closed it again. I sat on the floor. After a while, Rufus rested his head against my knee. Alexander stayed in the doorway. "He does not do that for everyone," he said. "He is tired." "Yes," Alexander said. "That may be it." I liked the house more after that, not because it was grand, because no one had told Rufus to perform happiness for me. The room Alexander had prepared was too perfect. The bedspread was new. The curtains matched. A vase held white flowers on the desk. There were no toys. He had been afraid of choosing the wrong ones. I stood in the doorway. Do I have to sleep here? No. Do I have to live here? No. Do I have to like it? No. I looked at him. What do I have to do? For now, visit. Then decide what you want. That answer did something to the room. It made the walls less certain. I walked inside. The floorboards were warm beneath my boots. There was a small wooden box on the desk. I opened it and found nothing inside. What is this for? Whatever you want. I put my parents' photograph in it. Alexander saw me do this. He did not ask to look. Before we left, Eleanor wrapped 2 dry socks in paper and placed them in my backpack. "Those are mine now," I said. "Yes. Not a gift, not a favor. Mine." The court process continued through winter. There were records to confirm. There were questions about my parents' estate. There were people who had to be found and asked whether they could care for me. No one had done anything wrong. Still, every delay felt like a door closing. Alexander continued his visits. Sometimes we drew, sometimes we read. Once, he brought a newspaper and let me circle every word I could spell. One Wednesday, he did not come. The next Wednesday, he came early and waited outside the room while Miss Varga finished a call. I refused to see him. He did not ask why. He left a note with Miss Varga. I read it 3 times. "I am sorry I missed last week. The court clerk moved an appointment without telling me. I should have checked. I will be here next Wednesday." There was no excuse beneath it. No promise that the world would behave better. Only the truth. The following week, I let him in. "You disappeared," I said. "For 1 week." "That is how it starts." Alexander sat down. "Yes," he said. "I understand." "You do not." "No," he said. "I do not." It was the first answer that made me believe he might. A month later, I asked him the question I had been carrying. "If I go to your house, will I have to stay?" "No." "If I say I want to leave?" "You tell Miss Varga. We listen. We make sure you are safe." "If you change your mind?" Alexander looked down at his hands. He was not offended. He did not say that he would never change his mind. Adults make promises like that when they want a child to stop being afraid. "I cannot control every decision the court makes," he said. "I cannot control whether you trust me tomorrow, but I can control whether I return." The room was very quiet. "I won't disappear," he said. The words were not large. They did not solve anything. That was why I believed them. I did not answer. I placed my notebook on the table between us and opened it to the page with the streets. Alexander read the names without asking what they meant. Then he took out his own notebook. He wrote down the name of the next street we would walk on together after Miss Varga approved it. By spring, the court granted Alexander temporary guardianship. It was not adoption. It was not forever. It was a legal arrangement with reviews, visits, and conditions. I would live at the estate while the court continued to protect my interests. Ms. Varga would still come. I could still speak privately with her. Alexander accepted this without disappointment. That helped. On the first morning, Eleanor placed a bowl of porridge on the kitchen table. I sat at the far end. Thomas had moved a small desk into the room beside the library. He had sanded it until the old scratches showed like pale lines in the wood. "You can write there," he said. "What if I do not want to?" "Then it is a good desk for not writing." Rufus followed me upstairs and lay outside my door. The house had rules. Shoes stayed in the hall. Books returned to shelves. Doors could be closed, but not locked from the outside. There was one new rule that Alexander said carefully. No one has to call this home until it feels like one. I kept my backpack packed for 3 weeks. At night, I placed it beneath the bed. In the morning, I checked that it was still there. School was harder than the estate. The children knew I was new. They knew I had no mother waiting at pickup. Children notice empty spaces quickly. A boy named Peter asked whether Alexander was my father. No. "Then who is he?" "A person." Peter considered this. "Is he rich?" "Yes." "Can I come to your house?" "No." I liked Peter a little after that. My teacher, Mrs. Novak, gave me a seat near the window. She did not ask me to tell the class my story. She asked what I liked reading. "Birds," I said. So she found me a book about birds. On the first Friday, a girl at lunch dropped her apple. I picked it up and gave it back. She looked at me. "You can have it," she said. "I do not want it." "You are supposed to say thank you." "Thank you." Then I cut the apple in half with the table knife and gave one piece back. Mrs. Novak saw. She said nothing. After school, Alexander asked how the day had been. "Long." "That sounds accurate." Eleanor was waiting at the house with soup. Thomas had left a clean notebook on my desk. Rufus was asleep in the hallway. I understood then that people could prepare a place without asking you to become grateful for it. Our first Christmas at the estate was small. Eleanor refused a large dinner. She said large dinners made people tired before dessert. Thomas brought in a tree from the shed. It was narrow and uneven. He had grown it himself from a seedling, though he denied responsibility for its shape. Rufus wore a red ribbon for exactly 6 minutes. Then he removed it. We hung paper stars in the windows. I placed one above the kitchen door. Alexander put the final star beside Marianne's photograph in the drawing room. He had never decorated that room before. I knew because the dust on the mantel was unbroken. Did she like Christmas? I asked. Yes. Then you should tell us about her. Alexander sat in the chair below the photograph. He told us Marianne burned the first pie every year. He told us she sang badly when she cooked. He told us she bought too many candles. For the first time, Marianne was not a photograph we had to walk around. She was a person inside the house again. Later, Alexander gave me a new blue notebook. I kept the old one beside it. The forgiveness came quietly. Alexander had kept the letter from my parents. It was in a folder with the court documents, but I had never asked to see it. One rainy afternoon, I found him in the library holding it. Why did you not show me? You were 8. I am still 8. Yes. He placed the letter on the desk. It said they were afraid, he told me. It said they wanted you to be safe. It did not say where that safety would be. I did not touch the paper. You had it the whole time? Yes. Did you think I could not understand? I thought understanding it might hurt you. It already hurts. Alexander nodded. I was wrong to decide for you. The anger came then. Not loudly. It came as a hard, hot feeling beneath my ribs. I told him he had no right to choose what I was allowed to know. I told him the house was full of people making decisions for me. I told him I could leave. He did not block the door. He did not follow me upstairs. He waited in the library. The next morning, the letter was in my wooden box. I read it alone. My parents had written that they loved me. They had written that love did not make them able to stay. The words were ordinary. That made them worse. At breakfast, Alexander did not ask whether I had forgiven him. I sat beside him instead of across the table. Forgiveness was not pretending the letter had been harmless. It was deciding that one wrong choice did not have to become the whole shape of a person. That summer, Thomas gave me a corner of the garden. He did not call it mine. He said gardens belonged to whoever cared for them. We planted lettuce, beans, and marigolds. The first row failed because I watered it too much. Thomas showed me how to begin again. Eleanor taught me to make soup from whatever was left in the refrigerator. She said recipes were only promises made to ingredients. Rufus taught me patience. He slept through most of the lessons. Alexander taught me nothing on purpose. He took me to the river. He helped with my spelling. He learned how to braid my hair badly, then stopped when I told him it was bad. The house changed because each person brought something ordinary. Eleanor brought meals that waited at regular hours. Thomas brought repairs, seedlings, and a desk that could hold the weight of a child leaning over it. Rufus brought the certainty that someone could lie beside a closed door without demanding it open. I brought noise. I left books on the stairs. I asked questions during the news. I put my parents' photograph beside Marianne's, not because the 4 of them belonged to one story, but because they belonged to ours. Alexander began eating dinner at the table. For years, he had eaten standing in the kitchen. He did not become a different man all at once. He simply stayed for the meal. The adoption took 2 more years. There were interviews, there were home visits, there were questions I had already answered in different forms. Did I feel safe? Did I understand what adoption meant? Did I want to keep contact with the records of my parents? Did I know I could say no? The judge spoke to me without making me stand. Alexander sat beside me. He did not hold my hand until I reached for his. The judge asked whether I wanted to be adopted. I looked at the people in the room. Ms. Varga, who had first found me beside the library radiator. Eleanor, who had taught me that food could be a form of welcome. Thomas, who had given me a garden without calling it mine. Alexander, who had promised not to disappear and had returned, week after week, even when trust was slow. I looked at the folder. I want to choose, I said. The judge waited. I choose this. The adoption was granted that afternoon. Outside the courthouse, the city was warm and loud. Cars passed. Someone was selling flowers near the steps. Alexander asked if I wanted to celebrate. Yes. Where? The market. We bought bread for Sunday, though Sunday the cat had long since stopped appearing. Mrs. Petrescu was still there. She looked at Alexander, then at me. So, she said, you found a place to sleep? Yes, I said. Good. She gave us 2 loaves. She charged Alexander for 1. The years after that did not become perfect. I failed a mathematics exam. I lost my temper. I said things I did not mean. Alexander worked too much and forgot a school concert. Eleanor burned a sauce and blamed the stove. Thomas broke his wrist repairing a fence and complained that the fence had won. Rufus grew slower. There were mornings when I woke afraid that everything good had only been borrowed. On those mornings, I checked the hallway. The doors were there. The house was there. Someone had left a light on in the kitchen. Alexander kept his promise in unremarkable ways. He came to parent meetings. He sat through bad school plays. He waited outside the dentist's office. He learned which holidays were difficult for me and did not force them to become cheerful. When I was 15, I asked him whether he regretted adopting me. He was repairing a loose hinge. No. You answered too quickly. I have had years to consider it. I sat on the workbench. Do you think you rescued me? Alexander set down the screwdriver. I thought I was helping you find safety. And now? Now I know you helped me find a life. That answer embarrassed me. It also stayed. Before me, Alexander had lived in a beautiful house as if it were a waiting room. He had mistaken silence for peace. He had put grief in a frame and left it on the mantel. I did not cure his sadness. No one can do that for another person. But I gave him reasons to open the curtains. He gave me a family that did not require me to forget the one I had lost. I became a nurse. People find this surprising when they hear the story. They expect a grand reason. They expect me to say, I wanted to save children because someone once saved me. That is not what happened. I became a nurse because I liked the quiet work of noticing. Who had not eaten? Who was pretending not to be afraid? Who needed the room explained again? Who wanted help without being made helpless by it? Alexander attended my graduation in a dark suit. Eleanor cried before the ceremony began. Thomas said the building had too many stairs. Rufus was gone by then, but we kept his old red ribbon in the kitchen drawer. Afterward, we had dinner at the house. The garden was full of summer light. The desk Thomas had made was still beside the library window. Eleanor's soup was still too salty. Alexander still read the newspaper while listening to everyone. I brought home my nursing certificate and placed it beneath my parents' photograph. Then I placed the photograph beside Mary Ann's. Some families begin with blood. Some begin with law. Some begin with a child saying, "Do I have to?" and an adult answering, "No."